Okay, our area that we're going to focus on for at least a few classes is to make your models more complex. And we started this last time, and we'll spend a little bit of time to review, and we will continue on how, not just how to make the model more complex, but then how to incorporate that in your Razor pages. I've taken the data from this tutorial, which we're not necessarily going to work all the way through, but we're going to look at some of the key things from it, and you're certainly welcome to work through it, because I think it would really give you a good understanding of the material. What we really want to do is we want to start answering the questions of how to do things in your project. Because we covered basic functionality, and that probably works for a certain percentage of people's projects. It probably shouldn't work for your whole project, right? The basic functionality of creating a simple model, scaffolding it, and so on. If it does, then maybe your project is a little too straightforward, a little too simple. So what we're doing here is we're looking at a lot with dealing with the relationships between tables and how to show related data on different pages. So if you take this and combine this with the other stuff that we've learned, you can start doing some things on the project. One thing I would like everyone to do is to start thinking of things that you need to do on your project that we haven't discussed in class. All right? Especially after we do a couple of these lectures, but even now would be a good time, and email them to me. So anything that you're not sure about, email it to me, and then I can be sure that I either talk with you individually to describe how you could do it, or possibly incorporate into one of our classes. So this is a tutorial. Razor Pages with Entity Framework Core, Tutorial 1 through 8. And it goes through an example with the student enrollment and course. And then we go from there. More complex data model, reading related data, updating related data, and so on. Again, the Entity Framework Core is a good term. It relates to the way of mapping the model, which is represented in objects, which is what your program is going to deal with, to databases. All right? So in other words, this is different than old school ASP, where you actually wrote SQL statements. All right? You're manipulating objects in your model, and those objects in your model map to tables in the relational database. All right? So you're kind of on a higher level. There's a level that handles the low-level details of like how to generate an insert, how to generate an update, how to generate a delete, and so on. And we spent a little bit of time last time looking at examples of our model, especially a more complex model, and how the model relates to or the model in the tables, or how the model relates to the tables in the database. We use also language integrated querying, LINQ, to do select statements like this, which saves us the details of having to write the individual SQL statement. That being said, we can still write SQL statements if we need to, and it's useful to understand what's available in SQL statements to be able to write this. So at any rate, let's download this and take a look. So we have this, and we have our application. Let's open that up in Visual Studio. Oh, you know what? I think I uploaded a copy that we worked on, or not. Update the upload in the lecture. Yeah, maybe I didn't. I don't think I made any changes to it. I think we just looked at stuff, so I might not have uploaded a new copy. We can actually get rid of the SQLite related files. Even though maybe I did. I'm really confused. All right, anyhow. Let's go forward, look at the model. If we look at, for example, course, the model not only shows the data that's in the course table like we would have done in previous classes, but it shows the relationship. That's the one thing that we were not doing. Our models are very simple. We didn't really show relationships between the entities. Here we do. And we do that a couple of ways. We have, for example, a public int department ID. And we have a reference to a department in here. All right? What that means, in a nutshell, is that there's a foreign key from this table to the department table. So each course belongs to the department. And if you want to know the department that this course belongs to, it will be stored in this object, in this attribute. Likewise, so this is implementing a one-to-many, or actually, yeah, a one-to-many relationship where one department points to, each one of these points to one department. Each course has one department. So this is how you implement that relationship. If we were to look at the department, we'll see the opposite. All right? There is no foreign key over to the course because the department, again, it's like when you have a diagram like this. How do you implement a one-to-many between course and department? One department has many courses. Each course only has one department. How do you implement that? There's a department ID here. All right? And in other words, this course has a department associated with it. So we can access this object in our model because there's a department ID here that points to the department over there. So that is a one-to-many relationship. Remember, with the one-to-many relationship, the many always points to the one. So in our case, the department points to, the course points to the department. The many points to the one. And that's represented by the fact that we have a department ID in here, and there is a department object as an attribute here. Now, cases like this, all right, are implementations of many-to-many relationships. Remember, when you have a many-to-many relationship, all right, you have, in this case, enrollments is a many-to-many relationship between student and courses. So there's not a foreign key in courses because there's more than one student in that course. All right? Instead, there is a collection of enrollments. All right? That indicates that the course is also involved on the many side of the relationship. We'll see the same thing in the student table or student model. Student also has a collection of enrollments. So course and a student both have a collection of enrollments. And that enrollment, of course, has a foreign key to both course and student and has an attribute for course and student because from the enrollment perspective, it is a one-to-many relationship. So many between course and student, which gets implemented as two one-to-manys to the enrollment table. Questions about this? If you look at the SQL Object Explorer, you can actually see the details on this. And you can actually see the tables. Oh, I haven't made the database yet. When we make the database, we'll actually see those tables. So let's go here and let's make the database. Does it create database? Well, initial create is the name of the it's a migration that we create. What is the command to actually create the database? Update database. Thank you. Went blank on that for a second. There we go. Okay, we then look at the database and we can see the tables that were created. Notice again we have the course, enrollment, student. In the course table, if we look at it, there's a foreign key over to the department, just as we had indicated. And in the enrollment, there's a foreign key going both between the course and the student. So take some time to study this and be sure that you understand how the model and how when you define how to define relationships in the model, first of all, and how you represent that, how that eventually gets mapped into the database tables. So I would suggest doing this part of the tutorial to view that so you have a good understanding of how the model creates the database, how you define the relationships in the model, how you then go create the database and what the database looks like. When we do this, then we can show related data very easily. All right, let's go, for example, here to here. If we look at the details of a student, we can see a list of the courses that they were enrolled in and what their grade was. Okay? How does that happen? Well, we can look and see under students, we have details. First, we're going to look at the model, because remember, the model supplies the data. There we go. Notice that when we get this, we include enrollments and courses. As though tracking is something that makes it a little more efficient. First or default does what? We'd seen this before in other examples. Well, if I have a select statement, how many rows? I just have a general select statement. I'm not going to tell you the details of it. How many rows could a select statement potentially return?
As many as there is.
Right. Multiple, in other words. Right? However, this specific select statement, how many rows can it return? Only one, because we're accessing the data using the ID. And since the ID is the primary key, we can only pull one value. So that's the difference between these two, between the two and the things that we've seen before, is if you do a general select, you're going to get a list of students. You're going to get an array of students or a collection of students. Whereas if you say first or default, you're just going to get one. All right? Let's compare the details with the index. In the index, we get a list of all of the students. So notice what our query looks like. We have an order by, we have a where clause, blah, 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 blah. But when we do our query, we're getting back students. All right? Which is defined as a list. All right? A paginated list. Simply means it's easy to go through pages at a time of it. Whereas when we pull up a detail, since we ask for first or default, we're only going to get one. That makes our life easier because we don't have to loop through stuff. Right? We wouldn't have to put first or default on there. The difference would be is if we didn't put first or default in there, we'd still get back a list. It would just be a list that we would know always only had one element. All right? And what's the point of that? What's the point of returning a list if you know you only get one element? Better instead to just say, hey, I just want the one element. So give me the first element. We know, because we've written a SQL statement, that the first element is going to be the only element. All right? So we only get a single student. Let's look at the actual page for this then. Oh, the other thing I want to show. Include S, enrollments, E, courses. All right? What we're doing is we're joining students with enrollments. We're getting all the students, all the enrollments for that student, and then we're getting all the courses for those enrollments. So remember, we have enrollments is a many-to-many relationship between courses and students. So a given student will have many rows in the enrollments table, and each row in the enrollment table relates to one course. So what this is doing is this is creating a chain, because we want to know what courses students enrolled in. So how do we get to the courses that the student is enrolled in? We start at the student, we link them to the enrollments, we then link the enrollments to the course. So now we get not just a list of students, but we get a list of course enrollments and courses for that student. Okay? Because we've joined those tables together. How do we use that then? Well, we go in and we display the label for the first name, or label for the last name, label for the first name, label for the enrollment date, and so on. And then we have a loop to loop through for every row in the student's enrollment. Give me the course title and grade. Title comes from what table? The course table. Where does grade come from?
The student.
No, because a student could have more than one grade depending on what classes they take.
So the enrollment.
In the enrollment. How do I know that? We're looping through an item. Each time through the loop, item is going to represent one of the student's enrollments. So we are asking for, related to that student's enrollment, give me the course title. Okay? Related to that student's enrollment, give me the enrollment's grade. It surprised me for a second when I didn't see course here. But then I remembered, no, grade doesn't relate to the course, because at any given course, different students get different grades. The grade relates to enrollment. And this item represents an individual student enrollment. And we loop through all of those and get the course title and the grade for that. So that's how we end up getting that. What I like to do, let's see what time it's getting to be. What I like to do, I'm pretty sure we'll have time for this, is to go and add some functionality to one of the pages where the functionality isn't there. All right? So let's look. Let's look for a place that we can improve the functionality. All right, here's a course. We click on it. Should we be able to see the students enrolled on this page? I mean, we don't right now, but should we be able to?
Maybe if you're logged in, I don't know.
Okay.
How much you want the site for.
I didn't mean it from that perspective, but yeah, we should be able to see it. You're right. All right. How do I know that? Well, because if I show all the students in this page, that's actually coming in the opposite direction from this, right? This takes a student and shows all the courses. So, if we can take a student and show all the courses, we should be able to take a course and show all the students. Okay? We just have to make sure that we link things up correctly. We need to write our SQL statement correctly, and we need to excuse me. We need to write our SQL statement correctly, and we need to then, in the page itself, loop through the results that we get. So, since I'm new to this too, I'm going to use the student as a model. All right? Pardon the pun. I'm going to use the student model as a model. So, let's look at the course detail page and the course detail model. So I'm going to go into course. Is everyone clear at what my aim is? Course detail page, I want to show a list of all the students. Is everyone clear on my strategy? I'm doing the other way around. Should be pretty similar, just switching some things around to do this. So, all right. Notice what I do here. I include that, then include that. Copy this, because this looks like a good starting point. All right. So I'm going to go to the details model for the course. I want to include C, just C enrollments. Then I want to include E to E, not courses, but students. Okay? So I'm doing something a little bit different in this one because I've already been including the department. So I want to include the student enrollments, and I want to include the students associated with each of those enrollments. So if I look between these two, other than being in a slightly different order, all right, I think we're okay. So I think I've written this SQL statement or this link statement correctly, because it was already joined the departments. I've now added to join the course to the enrollments and the enrollments to the student. So I should have the data. So now I just want to display, change the details to do this. Change the details page itself. So I'm going to go, copy this, put that in here, all right, for each item in model, course, enrollments, display model item, item.course.title, and item grade. And I think that should work, because I'm looping through for every enrollment record associated with this course, I'm grabbing the course title and I'm grabbing the grade.
So the student name now?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to, you're right, I want to see the student name. So I want to see student, instead of the course title, I already have the course title, why would I want that? You're right, I'm mistaken. Student, full name. All right, forgot what I was doing here.
Do you have to update the database first?
I thought I did update the database already, so I don't think so. Thing that's weird is it's giving me the error not just on what I changed, but on one that was working already. do. I am going to go back to my original download, just in case I mess something up. Let's go and update database. Okay, it's not giving an error on that now, which is good. I wonder, I must have messed something up. I'm not really sure how I would have done that, but let's go and add this back in to here. Alright, and then we will cut this snippet of code. Put it in here. Var each item in model course enrollments. Student full name. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I don't know if I inadvertently typed over something where I shouldn't have or what. But we're back in business now. So if I go to courses and details, I see the student that was enrolled in it. I need to change that to course title, but other than that, it's okay. All right. And it shows the department correctly. see the students that are in this class. Questions on any of this? I know, how do I want to put this? I know that you're not going to understand how to do this just by hearing me explain it. All right? It's like golfing, right? I mean, you can listen to the greatest golf teacher in the world tell you how to swing, and you're not going to know how to hit a golf ball, right? My idea here is to point out some of these things to be looking for and to give you some suggestions for approaches when you go and you work at this on your own. So what I'm going to do now is we have about a half hour left of class. My suggestion would be to download this example and try to do exactly what I did. That is, change it so that you can see a list of students in each course. Okay? When you do that, or after you do that, or before you do that, or whatever, take the time to look at the model, look at the database that gets generated from the model, look at the code for student and student details, and then see what you need to do to make it work for course, showing the course details, including all the students that are enrolled. Okay, we'll see you over in lab. I will not upload this because, again, I want you to work through this on your own. The original is down.